Before we dive into today's content, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you're always in the loop with videos that help you grow, learn, and avoid unnecessary heartache in relationships. If you're serious about building stronger, healthier relationships, then this video is exactly what you need to start recognizing key warning signs that will help you make informed decisions in your dating life. Trust me, you'll want to watch this one closely to learn how to spot the traits that could save you from investing your time and emotions into the wrong person. So, let's get started. Today, we're exploring the 12 key traits of women who are more likely to cheat in relationships, and how you can spot these signs early on. Recognizing these red flags doesn't mean you're being paranoid. It's about being aware and protecting your heart. In any relationship, trust is paramount, but when those red flags begin to appear, you need to be able to step back and reassess whether or not you're heading down the right path. We'll break down each of these traits in detail, so you'll be prepared and equipped with the knowledge you need to spot early signs of infidelity. Let's jump in. 1. Lack of transparency. One of the most telling traits of a woman who might be prone to cheating is a lack of transparency. In any healthy relationship, open communication and honesty should be the foundation. But when a woman is constantly hiding things from you, avoiding certain questions, or becoming defensive when you ask about her day, it raises a red flag. This doesn't always mean that she's definitely cheating, but it does suggest that there might be something she's not being fully honest about. A lack of transparency often goes hand in hand with secretive behavior. For example, she might become more protective of her phone, refuse to let you see her social media, or become dismissive when you ask about details of her personal life. If she's reluctant to share her feelings or simply gives vague responses to questions, this could be a sign that she's hiding something or emotionally distancing herself from you. It's important to note that transparency doesn't mean an invasion of privacy. It's about being willing to openly communicate and share important aspects of life, especially when you're in a committed relationship. If you find that your partner is hiding details about their whereabouts, friendships, or feelings without any valid explanation, it could suggest they're not emotionally invested in the relationship and may be seeking out someone or something else to fulfill their needs. When you encounter a lack of transparency, it's crucial not to jump to conclusions right away, but rather pay attention to the consistency of their behavior. If the secrecy increases over time and starts to become a pattern, this could be an indication of deeper issues. In these cases, it's important to have a candid conversation about the trust issues that might be emerging in the relationship. If transparency continues to be absent, then it might be time to reconsider whether or not this relationship is worth your time and emotional energy. 2. Emotional distance. One of the most subtle but significant traits of women who are prone to cheating is emotional distance. Relationships thrive on emotional connection, and when that bond starts to fade or becomes weak, it opens the door for infidelity. If a woman begins to pull away emotionally or shows little interest in having deep conversations or sharing her feelings, it's a major warning sign that she might not be fully invested in the relationship anymore. This emotional detachment can develop slowly over time and can be difficult to notice at first, but once it becomes apparent, it often signals that she's emotionally checked out and might be seeking fulfillment elsewhere. At the beginning of most relationships, there's often an intense emotional connection where both partners share their thoughts, dreams, and desires. This is the stage where vulnerability is nurtured, and trust begins to form. However, when a woman starts withdrawing from those conversations, not opening up as much, or simply becoming disinterested in emotional intimacy, it's a serious concern. She may start to avoid deeper discussions, making excuses not to talk about important subjects like the future of the relationship, or she may seem detached when it comes to expressing care and affection. This emotional withdrawal is often accompanied by a noticeable shift in behavior. For example, she may seem more preoccupied with her own thoughts or spend more time on her own, engaging in activities that don't involve you. In healthy relationships, partners support and comfort each other during times of stress or difficulty, but when one partner starts to emotionally distance themselves, they may no longer be as supportive or available. The affection you once shared may feel forced or artificial, and conversations may feel shallow, as if she's not fully engaged. In some cases, this emotional distancing might even manifest in physical ways. She may not seem as interested in intimacy or may even begin avoiding physical contact. Why does this happen? For many women who cheat, emotional distance comes as a result of their emotional needs not being met within the relationship. If they feel neglected, unheard, or misunderstood, they may look elsewhere for the emotional fulfillment they crave. They may begin to seek out others who can offer the attention, affection, or validation they feel is missing from their current partner. This detachment can be gradual and might start with small signs like her becoming less affectionate or engaging less in conversations, but over time, it could snowball into a complete emotional withdrawal. The key here is to pay attention to how she behaves when things are tough. Does she retreat into herself and refuse to talk about problems? Does she no longer seek comfort from you when she's stressed or upset? Does she become disinterested in hearing about your day or your thoughts? These are all signs that she might be emotionally distancing herself, which could be a precursor to seeking emotional connection elsewhere. However, emotional distance doesn't always stem from cheating. It could also indicate other relationship issues, such as personal stress, mental health challenges, or dissatisfaction. That's why it's important to communicate openly about how both of you are feeling. But if the emotional distancing becomes consistent and you notice that it's not just an occasional occurrence, but rather a steady decline, it's essential to address it. At this point, it might be beneficial to have a frank discussion about what's happening and whether she's still invested in the relationship. If the emotional gap widens and isn't addressed, it's a strong indication that the relationship may be headed for trouble, and she might eventually turn to someone else for emotional support. This emotional distancing is also particularly telling because it can be linked to a deeper sense of dissatisfaction in the relationship. Often, when a woman becomes emotionally detached, it's because she's no longer receiving the emotional support she needs from her partner. She might start to feel like she's not being heard or valued. This feeling of disconnection can build up over time, leading her to seek affection or emotional bonding outside the relationship. It's crucial to recognize the signs early, before this emotional distance turns into a permanent rift. The problem with emotional distance is that it often happens under the radar, and it can be easy for a partner to dismiss it as just a phase or something that will pass. But if ignored, it can lead to the breakdown of trust and intimacy, both of which are essential for a thriving relationship. If you start to notice these signs of emotional detachment in your partner, it's important to have an open, honest conversation about the state of the relationship and where both of you stand. If she's unwilling to open up or share her feelings, and if the emotional gap keeps growing, it might be time to evaluate whether the relationship is sustainable or if it's time to move on. In the end, emotional connection is the glue that holds relationships together, and without it, the foundation becomes weak. If you're not receiving the emotional intimacy you need, or if your partner becomes increasingly distant, it's essential to address the issue before it spirals into bigger problems. And, if it turns out that emotional distance is just the beginning of deeper issues, you might find yourself facing betrayal if those unmet emotional needs continue to be ignored. 3. Increased need for space. When a woman starts to spend more and more time away from you, whether physically or emotionally, it can be a sign that something is off. While it's perfectly normal for people to need personal space in a relationship, the frequency and intensity of this need can signal a deeper issue. If she begins to make excuses for why she can't spend time together, seems uninterested in activities you used to enjoy together, or regularly opts for alone time without a valid reason, this could indicate that she's emotionally withdrawing. The desire for space often increases when someone feels conflicted about their relationship. For women who are prone to cheating, the need for more space is a coping mechanism to create emotional and physical distance from their partner. This distance allows them to detach from the relationship while they explore other avenues for validation, attention, or connection. She may not necessarily be cheating yet, but this desire for space is often a sign that she's considering or already starting to pull away from the relationship. Pay attention to whether this need for space feels one-sided. In healthy relationships, both partners have an equal need for time apart and together, but if the balance shifts and she begins to reject or avoid spending time with you, it could suggest that she's already checked out emotionally. She may become busier than usual with personal activities, work, or friends, and may seem to lose interest in spending quality time together. When this happens, it's important to question why she's suddenly creating so much distance between you both, and whether this is a temporary phase or a deeper issue in the relationship. A partner who is emotionally or physically distant might be seeking freedom and independence, which can be a sign that she's trying to avoid facing difficult conversations or emotions about the relationship. In some cases, this increased need for space could be her way of setting the stage for an affair, where she begins to seek emotional or physical intimacy with someone else to fill the void created by the distance in the relationship. If you find yourself in a situation where your partner is consistently creating space between you and shows little interest in intimacy or closeness, it's important to have a direct conversation. Ask her what's going on and whether she still sees a future in the relationship. While needing space every so often is healthy, if it's excessive and feels like an ongoing pattern, it's worth addressing the root cause before it escalates. 4. Secretive social media behavior. In today's digital age, social media plays a major role in how people communicate and express themselves. For many, it's a way to stay connected with friends, family, and colleagues, but it can also serve as a platform for secrecy, hiding interactions, or even developing connections outside of the relationship. If you notice that your partner becomes unusually secretive or protective about her social media presence, this could be a sign that she's hiding something, possibly even an affair. When a woman is prone to cheating, she may go out of her way to hide her online interactions, especially if they involve people she doesn't want you to know about. This could manifest in several ways. She might suddenly become very private about her social media accounts, changing passwords, logging out in front of you, or restricting access to her profiles. You may also notice that she's no longer sharing posts or pictures that you once used to appear in together. Instead, she may post more frequently about her life without including you, or may begin to follow or engage with people in a way that makes you uncomfortable. Another red flag is when she becomes overly defensive if you ask her about her social media activity. She might react with irritation, claiming that it's none of your business, or accuse you of being paranoid or controlling. A partner who is open and transparent in a healthy relationship will have no problem allowing you to view their social media and discussing their online interactions without feeling threatened. However, when someone starts acting secretively about their digital life, it could indicate that they have something to hide. Secretive social media behavior may also include flirting or messaging people from their past, someone they've met recently, or even strangers. The digital world offers anonymity, and many cheaters find that it's easier to connect with others in a way that feels less risky. If you notice that she's spending more time on her phone or computer, checking her messages in private, or even deleting conversations, this could be an indication that she's engaging in inappropriate online behavior that she doesn't want you to discover. While social media can be a tool for innocent connections, it can also be a breeding ground for dishonesty. If you're seeing these signs of secretive social media behavior, it's important to approach the topic delicately but directly. Ask her why she's acting this way and try to have an open conversation about trust and boundaries in the relationship. If she refuses to explain or continues to act defensively, it's important to consider how this secrecy might affect your overall trust in the relationship. Ultimately, trust is the cornerstone of any relationship, and when social media becomes a source of deception or secrecy, it can erode that trust quickly. If your partner is hiding things from you online, there's a strong chance that she's hiding things in real life as well. It's essential to be aware of how social media impacts your relationship and whether it's contributing to a breakdown of trust. Be proactive in addressing this issue before it causes irreparable harm to your connection. 5. Lack of intimacy. Intimacy is an essential aspect of a healthy relationship, and when it begins to diminish, it can be a major red flag. While intimacy is not just about physical closeness, a lack of it often signals emotional or psychological distance between partners. If a woman who once showed affection and desire starts to withdraw from intimacy, whether it's physical touch, affectionate gestures, or sexual intimacy, it could be a sign that she's losing interest in the relationship. This withdrawal could happen gradually, where small changes turn into larger gaps over time, or it could be more sudden, depending on the circumstances. For women who are prone to cheating, the lack of intimacy often correlates with dissatisfaction in the relationship. Emotional needs may not be met, or they may feel neglected or unappreciated. In some cases, a lack of physical affection may be the result of them seeking attention elsewhere. A woman who is emotionally fulfilled and happy in a relationship is generally more inclined to stay connected through intimacy. However, when a partner becomes distant, disengaged, or emotionally unavailable, they may start to withhold physical affection or sexual intimacy as a form of punishment or disengagement. This lack of intimacy doesn't just refer to sexual intimacy. It can also involve a reduction in small daily acts of affection such as hugging, holding hands, or kissing. When these gestures disappear, it can make the relationship feel cold and distant, signaling that something is wrong. She may stop showing affection or withdraw when you try to initiate closeness. In some cases, she might even make excuses to avoid intimacy, such as being too tired or too busy, when in reality, her emotional investment has shifted elsewhere. If the lack of intimacy becomes more persistent, it's important to ask why. Intimacy is a vital part of the connection between partners, and when it's missing, it can signal deeper emotional issues that need addressing. In some cases, a woman might be disengaged due to a lack of connection in the relationship, but in others, she may be seeking intimacy with someone outside the relationship. If there's a significant drop in intimacy and communication, it's essential to address it before it leads to further emotional distance, which could pave the way for infidelity. 6. Attention-seeking behavior. Women who are prone to cheating often exhibit attention-seeking behavior. This behavior is not always overt or obvious, but it becomes apparent when you notice that she is constantly seeking validation or admiration from others, particularly from people outside the relationship. She might frequently post provocative photos or make flirtatious comments on social media, or she might actively seek out situations where she can attract attention from other men. This can be a sign that she's trying to fulfill emotional or ego-based needs that are not being met within the relationship. In a healthy relationship, both partners should feel secure in the attention and affection they receive from each other. However, women who feel unappreciated or neglected may look for external sources of validation. They might enjoy the admiration of others and seek out attention from strangers or acquaintances as a way to boost their self-esteem. If you notice that your partner consistently seeks attention from others or seems to revel in the attention they receive from others, it could be a sign that they are looking for affirmation that they are still attractive, desirable, or wanted. This attention-seeking behavior can sometimes appear in subtle ways, such as dressing more provocatively or flirting with others in social settings. She might become excessively concerned with her appearance, constantly checking her social media for likes and comments, or seeking approval from others. In more extreme cases, this behavior might manifest in her becoming emotionally involved with someone else, even if the attention-seeking is initially innocent. It can be a slippery slope where the need for validation turns into a search for deeper emotional or physical connections outside the relationship. It's important to differentiate between healthy self-esteem and excessive attention-seeking behavior. If a woman feels good about herself, she doesn't need constant reassurance from others to feel valued. But if she's constantly fishing for compliments or flirting with others, it's an indication that she's seeking fulfillment that she's not getting from you. This need for external validation could signal that she's unhappy with the relationship, or worse, that she may be considering or already pursuing emotional or physical connections elsewhere. If you notice a pattern of attention-seeking behavior, it's crucial to address it early. Talk to your partner about how their actions make you feel, and ask if there are unmet needs in the relationship. While a healthy relationship involves occasional compliments and mutual admiration, when this behavior becomes excessive or persistent, it can indicate a deeper issue, one that may lead to cheating if left unchecked. Encourage open communication and explore whether there are underlying emotional needs that are going unaddressed. If these behaviors persist despite your efforts to communicate, it's important to assess whether the relationship can be salvaged or if it's time to move on. 7. Constantly criticizing or complaining about you. A woman who is prone to cheating may start to exhibit behavior where she frequently criticizes or complains about you, sometimes over the smallest things. This criticism is often a defense mechanism used to create emotional distance between herself and her partner. When someone is emotionally or physically disconnected from their relationship, they may focus on finding faults in their partner as a way to justify their own actions, such as considering or engaging in an affair. This constant criticism can become exhausting and demoralizing. Instead of focusing on the positive aspects of the relationship, she may continually find things to complain about, whether it's your behavior, habits, appearance, or the way you communicate. She may begin to devalue you or make you feel as if you're not good enough for her. Over time, this negativity can erode your self-esteem and create an unhealthy dynamic in the relationship. If you're consistently feeling criticized, judged, or unappreciated by your partner, it's important to assess whether the underlying issue is something that can be fixed through communication and compromise, or if it's a sign of deeper emotional issues. When criticism becomes a recurring pattern without any effort to improve or resolve problems, it may indicate that she's emotionally disengaged and looking elsewhere for emotional satisfaction, even if she hasn't yet taken any physical steps toward infidelity. This type of behavior is often linked to frustration and unmet needs. If she feels ignored or neglected in the relationship, she might start to focus on what's wrong instead of what's right. In some cases, the constant criticism may be a form of manipulation or control, making it easier for her to justify seeking attention or comfort from others. It's important to recognize when this becomes a pattern and address it through honest communication about your relationship dynamics. 8. Emotional affairs. While physical infidelity can be an obvious red flag, emotional affairs are often harder to detect. Women who are prone to cheating may form deep emotional connections with someone outside the relationship, often without the physical aspect of cheating at first. These emotional affairs typically start as innocent friendships or conversations, but as they grow deeper, they begin to fulfill emotional needs that are not being met in the primary relationship. If your partner seems unusually invested in someone else's life or shares personal details about your relationship with another person, it may signal the beginning of an emotional affair. She might seek out this person for support, comfort, or validation, things that should ideally be shared with her partner. These affairs often involve late-night texting, long phone calls, or secretive communication, and can create a strong emotional bond that can be just as damaging as physical infidelity. Women involved in emotional affairs may not always recognize the full extent of their emotional attachment, but it can create a sense of betrayal that feels just as hurtful as physical cheating. Emotional affairs can be dangerous because they often lead to a sense of intimacy and connection that undermines the relationship's foundation. If she starts turning to someone else for comfort, affection, or understanding, it can indicate that she's emotionally disengaged from the relationship and may eventually seek physical intimacy as well. Recognizing the signs of an emotional affair can be difficult, as it may not involve any outwardly suspicious behavior. However, if you notice that your partner is increasingly secretive about her interactions with a certain person, becomes defensive when you ask about them, or shares things with that person that she used to share with you, it's important to have a conversation. Emotional affairs can quickly spiral out of control, and it's crucial to address these issues before they lead to further emotional or physical betrayal. 9. Unexplained changes in appearance. A sudden or drastic change in appearance can be a sign that a woman is trying to attract attention or feel desirable again, which could indicate a desire to cheat or an emotional shift in the relationship. If she suddenly starts spending more time on her physical appearance, buying new clothes, working out excessively, or changing her hairstyle, it could be a sign that she's seeking external validation, especially if this change is not something she's done before. Sometimes, women who are considering cheating or already engaged in an affair may attempt to reinvent themselves physically to boost their self-esteem or attract new attention. These changes might not just be about appearance, but can also reflect a deeper emotional need to reconnect with herself or with others outside the relationship. She might start spending more time getting ready for social events or putting extra effort into how she looks, even when she's not going anywhere. These physical changes may also serve as a way for her to cope with dissatisfaction in the relationship. She may begin to dress in a way that she feels will make her more appealing to other people, signaling a desire for attention or admiration that she is not getting from you. If you've noticed that she is putting more emphasis on her appearance or seems overly concerned with how she looks, it's important to consider whether she is trying to regain confidence or seeking attention outside the relationship. While it's common for people to go through phases of wanting to improve their appearance, a sudden shift, particularly if it seems focused on impressing others rather than feeling good for herself, can be a red flag. If these changes in appearance are accompanied by other suspicious behaviors, such as increased secrecy, emotional distance, or changes in her social circle, it's worth having a discussion to understand what's motivating this change and whether it's connected to deeper issues in the relationship. 10. Secretive behavior. When a woman begins to act secretively or becomes overly protective of her personal space, it could be a sign that she is hiding something, potentially an affair or the desire to cheat. Secretive behavior may not always involve something overtly suspicious, but it often manifests in subtle changes such as becoming defensive when asked about her day, avoiding sharing details about where she's been or who she's been with, or being unusually private about her phone or social media activity. If she starts hiding her phone when you walk into the room or becomes defensive when you ask her about her plans, this may indicate that she is trying to protect her secrets. These actions might be the result of guilt or an attempt to cover up a growing emotional or physical connection with someone else. Secretive behavior is often a reaction to feelings of shame or fear of being caught. If she's spending more time out of the house or begins to withhold information about her activities, this could indicate that she is trying to create space for behaviors that are inconsistent with the expectations of a committed relationship. In some cases, secretive behavior may not immediately point to infidelity, but it is still a significant red flag. It can indicate a lack of transparency or trust within the relationship, which can lead to emotional disconnect and ultimately to cheating. It's important to communicate openly about the growing sense of secrecy, as this type of behavior can gradually erode trust and intimacy in the relationship. If these actions persist despite your attempts to engage or address the issue, it's essential to have a direct conversation to understand what's happening. You deserve to feel secure in your relationship, and being shut out or kept in the dark can create feelings of insecurity, confusion, and frustration. If the secrecy is connected to infidelity, confronting it early can help you protect your emotional well-being and make informed decisions about the future of the relationship. 11. Increased independence or distance. When a woman becomes more independent and emotionally distant, it can be an indication that she is mentally or emotionally detaching from the relationship. This detachment can happen gradually over time, or it might occur more suddenly if she begins to feel unfulfilled or dissatisfied. Increased independence is not necessarily a negative trait, as personal growth and space are healthy in any relationship. However, when this shift is paired with other signs such as decreased intimacy, secretive behavior, or emotional withdrawal, it can signal that something deeper is at play. A woman who is emotionally or physically disengaging from her partner may begin to focus more on her own interests, hobbies, or friendships, leaving less time or energy for the relationship. She might spend more time alone, avoid emotional conversations, or prioritize her personal life over shared experiences with her partner. This increased distance can be a way for her to distance herself from feelings of guilt or discomfort if she's emotionally involved with someone else, or it could be an indication that she no longer sees the relationship as fulfilling or worth investing in. As her emotional distance grows, she may also stop confiding in you or sharing her thoughts, feelings, and concerns. This lack of emotional connection can make it difficult to maintain a healthy relationship, as communication and closeness are vital for emotional intimacy. If she begins to prioritize her own needs above the relationship or isolates herself more frequently, it's important to address this behavior before it creates a permanent emotional rift. In some cases, this increased independence is the result of growing dissatisfaction in the relationship. If she feels unsupported, neglected, or unappreciated, she may start to seek fulfillment elsewhere. If the emotional detachment continues despite attempts to engage or discuss the issues, it may indicate that she's already seeking emotional or physical connections outside the relationship. The sooner this behavior is addressed, the better the chances of re-establishing trust and intimacy, or, if necessary, ending the relationship in a way that protects both partners' emotional health. 12. Sudden change in attitude toward the relationship. A sudden or drastic change in how a woman views the relationship can be a major warning sign of infidelity. If she goes from being affectionate, loving, and emotionally connected to being distant, uninterested, or indifferent, this shift could indicate that her feelings toward you have changed due to outside influences or emotional connections with someone else. If she suddenly loses interest in spending time with you, becomes less affectionate, or shows a lack of desire to work on the relationship, it might be a sign that she's no longer emotionally invested. She might also begin to act uninterested in conversations or avoid discussing the future of the relationship. This type of emotional shift is often a reflection of deeper issues, including dissatisfaction or the emotional effects of an affair. The change in attitude may be so stark that it feels like you're no longer the same couple that you were before. This emotional withdrawal may be her way of preparing herself to detach completely, whether or not the relationship has already been replaced by someone else. Additionally, if you've noticed that she's no longer prioritizing your needs or the needs of the relationship, this change in attitude can signal that her focus has shifted elsewhere. A woman who is emotionally available and engaged with her partner will naturally make time for the relationship and contribute to its growth. A shift from that behavior to indifference or neglect can be an indicator that she's not fully present anymore, and her emotional energy might be invested elsewhere. If you sense a change in her behavior or attitude toward the relationship, it's important to address it openly and honestly. Discuss how you've been feeling and ask for clarification on where she stands. Ignoring these signs can prolong the emotional distance and prevent the opportunity to heal or rebuild the relationship. In some cases, a change in attitude can be reversible through communication, effort, and mutual understanding.